we get to see the machines that are the ballots that are fraudulent, and if we're wrong, we made fools of. But if we're right, a lot of them will go to jail.
Why would he say that?
Let's have trial by combat.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing.
Who hides evidence? Criminals hide evidence, not honest people. So, over the next 10 days, we get to see the machines that are crooked, the ballots that are fraudulent, and if we're wrong, we will be made fools of.
Good evening, folks. I'm actually, for you folks that are tuned in on YouTube, I'm actually just trying to figure out YouTube. So, because I normally do my lives on TikTok, but I see many of you folks are tuning in on YouTube. So, you know me from the Uber videos and things like that. Obviously, President Trump has been indicted for a third time. Let me control some of my audio over here, but Trump has been indicted for a third time, and we're asking some questions. First of all, is it a witch hunt? Are they going after Trump simply to prevent him from being re-elected? Is that the whole goal? Or is President Trump truly guilty of some real, genuine crimes? Now, today, he's supposed to be meeting, he's supposed to be in federal court on 4 p.m. On Thursday. So he has an answer to this third arrest. Many would suggest, and many would agree, there's going to be a fourth arrest in the form of an indictment in Georgia, most likely towards the end of this month. So there will be a fourth indictment of former President. Megan, I see you in the comments saying he's not president. Fair enough. He is currently not the commander-in-chief. Former commander-in-chief, if that makes you happy. But once you've had the title, we often in this country give you the title for the rest of your life. Currently, Chris Christie's running for president as well. Many call him Governor Christie when he's on the stage. Folks still refer to Obama as President Obama. So whether you like Trump or not, he was indeed the rightfully elected president of the United States. So I'm going to give the man his proper title, President Trump. But is it a witch hunt, indictment after indictment after indictment? So, like, for instance, in the comments on YouTube, somebody is saying that the indictments definitely look like a witch hunt. So then we have to ask the question, if you believe President Trump was wrongfully indicted, and now we're to the point where, because you feel like people were, trying to catch him up on some bullshit, that's it, because you feel like he was mistreated, you're just going to, from now on, automatically dismiss any charges against the man. How is that not a perfect example of I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and my supporters would go nowhere? I believe, if you want to say I believe the Russia claims were a hoax, or I believe the first impeachment was a hoax, so from now on, because I believe they mistreated him once or twice, I'm going to automatically ignore everything that comes toward him. That is indeed, I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and my supporters would go nowhere. Essentially, you're saying from now on, no matter what he does wrong, I'm not going to believe anybody that tells it to me. I believe he's essentially innocent of anything he'll ever be charged of. I think that puts him in a really nice position. I would sure love to be in a position where no one would believe anything the authorities presented against me. That's a really nice position to be in. But that is what we're asking today. Now on YouTube, for you folks watching on YouTube, I have not figured out how to invert so the screen is backwards in this position differently. But folks asking in the comments, do you think the Department of Justice is a joke? Here's the issue I have. How is it that no matter who you are, if you speak negatively of President Trump, you instantly become a rhino or a liberal? Is it possible to speak negatively of President Trump and still remain a patriotic Republican? Or do you lose that title altogether simply by speaking negatively of Trump? Because I've seen a host of folks instantly, literally lose their party affiliation, according to many Republicans, simply because they said something negative about Trump. I don't think that should be, but maybe I'm wrong. So looking at what he's charged of, like I stated, he's due in federal court Thursday at 4 p.m. Basically, 4 charges are being levied against him. Number one, sounding really harsh in nature, they're charging him with defrauding the United States. How is that for someone who suggested President Trump does what's best for this country? He's being charged with defrauding the United States. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm giving you what he is being charged with. Looking in the comments, real quick in the comments, Stephen K says, if you're a Republican, you're on the wrong side of history. I don't quite know if I would totally agree with that. On some issues, absolutely, but other issues, for instance, it's a hell of a lot of Americans that are a fan of what they've done to Roe versus Wade, what they've done to affirmative action, what they are doing to the LGBT community. I personally am on the opposite side of that, so I personally would be with Stephen K. But there's a hell of a lot of people that support what's happening in those areas. In addition to trying to defraud the nation of America, obstruct an official proceeding. We already know what that is. That is indeed the smooth transition of power. They're going after Trump for attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. My humble opinion, that is absolutely something that was the goal on January 6th. Now, many would suggest that he told the protesters to go to the Capitol building peacefully, and things simply got out of hand. But I have to ask this question. If you rile up the protesters, you really make the protesters angry because they believe the country is being stolen from them. You got Rudolph Giuliani saying, let's have trial by combat. Even Trump is saying you got to fight for your country or you're not going to have a country anymore. And then you say march to the Capitol building peacefully. What are they supposed to do when they get there? Okay, you've told them march. You're not there because President Trump stated, I will be with you. Let's go to the Capitol building and I will be with you. He did not go with them to the Capitol building. So this crowd is angry because some of them are shouting out that they want to take the life of the vice president. So you tell them to go to the Capitol building peacefully. You do not follow them yourself. What would you expect to happen when they get there? You just expect them to just simply get out and pull out some cards and start playing a game of spades or something like that? What do you expect to happen when you incite and upset all of these people, send them to the Capitol building where all of the individuals they are angry with are located? Go there peacefully. It seems like you would expect that might not go peaceful. I just pissed these folks off and I sent them to the building where the people they're pissed off with are located. But go there peacefully. Okay, so you expect them to just go stand there and turn around? Does that make sense? Looking in the comments, or better at the box, MAGA Slayer. I'm gonna bring someone on. Hopefully you folks on YouTube can also hear the audio. MAGA Slayer, good evening.
Hey there, buddy.
Hey, so what do you think? You think this is a witch hunt?
Well, first off, happy Indictment Day.
So I'm assuming you think the indictment is rightfully deserved.
Oh, no, this may be a bitch hunt, but it's not a witch hunt.
A bitch? You wouldn't be suggesting that the former commander-in-chief is a bitch. I just want to get that clear.
Straight bitch. Wears more foundation than RuPaul.
That is mean. That is outright mean.
Only mean to RuPaul.
Oh, that. So you obviously are not a Trump supporter by any means.
Oh, no. I support him all the way to prison.
But do you think this country do you think this country would do better with someone like the former commander-in-chief being locked up? Do you not see civil unrest taking place?
We have plenty of open jail cells.
Yeah, but if you lock up the president, we've seen what happened on January 6th. Is it possible, when you talk about the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, is it possible we could have a major case of civil unrest on our hands if we do that?
Bring it, bitches. Stuart Rhodes, 18 years, and it's been appealed. They're trying for 25. So if you want to throw down, bring it.
I mean, you're okay with that? You literally are okay.
Well, I'm not okay. Listen, I'm not okay with it, but I'm not worried about it either.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, Biden does prevail and he gets reelected, and he states that as opposed to dealing with the chaos of Trump being incarcerated or whatever the case may be, he takes the route of Gerald Ford with Nixon and decides to pardon him. Would you be okay with that?
No.
So you want President Trump incarcerated?
And orange. He likes orange so much, give him a whole wardrobe.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I'm not suggesting that the man is innocent. However, I'm thinking of it from a standpoint of what is best for getting this nation back together. We're not going to unite everybody, certainly not in the era of Trump, but we could do a hell of a lot better than if you incarcerate this guy. I just don't see how doing that would be in the best interest of the country.
We made that mistake with Nixon, and that's what has allowed Trump to think he could get away with it. No, as we like to say, no one is above the law.
No, I tend to agree with you that no one is above the law, but at the same time, I do believe in, trying to, maintain some type of peace, I mean, for instance, here's a good example. When you look at the summer of 2020, Black Lives Matter rioting all over the damn place. The police, in my humble opinion, law enforcement in many of these cities probably felt like it would be safer to just let this stuff die down than to go in the crowd, tear gas everybody, and start arresting folks by the hundreds. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes holding people accountable is bad for a chaotic country. You don't see what I'm talking about here?
Well, sure. If you're gonna, start attacking crowds of hundreds of people, that might turn out bad. But this is way different. This man has desecrated the office of the presidency. He deserves what he's got coming.
So at the end of the day, when folks suggest that President Trump, because Trump is talking about stop the steal, Trump is talking about a stolen election from the Democrats. At the end of the day, is it safe to assume that you believe it was the other way around and it was Trump himself that was trying to steal the election?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, listen, he was a president. He had 61 cases he tried. He threw it to the Supreme Court. Every single one, he was turned down.
Yeah. What?
It was counted 3 times. Arizona was counted 3 times.
You raise an interesting point, because when you listen to President Trump, he makes it sound like it is his survival against a liberal onslaught. But when you look at what's actually happening, a hell of a lot of Trump's adversaries are Republicans. Some of them people he actually appointed to the job.
Some of them are snitching on as we speak.
Yeah, he actually...
I haven't heard from Mark Meadows in a while, have we? Rudy Giuliani, he testified for 8 hours.
But if you are a Republican and you cooperate with the authorities and snitch on Trump, is your life going to be in danger for doing that?
No, I wouldn't say it's not.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
We know they're violent. So, I mean, there's that. But, I mean, hey. But, I mean, look at what happened with witness number 4. He received a target letter down in Mar-a-Lago. He received a target letter.
Right.
And guess what? He went in, he talked, and he's not charged.
But many are going to state, I got to move it on, but I want to say this before I let you go. Many are going to suggest that they are flipping witnesses and letting the witnesses go because they want to increase the strength of the witch hunt. If these folks are guilty, why not charge them as well? Why are you giving them deals so that Trump can be held accountable when they're criminals as well? Does it make it look like you're singling out President Trump?
Well, they are signaling out he's the head of the crime, and I mean, yeah, they're cooperating. So yeah, they're going to get their ducks in the row, and they're going to get as much evidence as they can when they do this.
So at the end of the day, what scale of 1 to 10, 10 being straight up in jail, how likely do you think it is that we will see President Trump behind bars? Scale of 1 to 10.
11.
So you really think this shit is going to happen?
Absolutely.
Wow. All right.
Absolutely. I mean, think about this. You've got Florida, which is a slam dunk. I mean, it's just a blatant case of obstruction. And then he did the same thing with that Nixon did. You know, the cover-up is worse than the actual crime. Then you got Georgia, and it looks like that's going to be straight up RICO Act. So there's going to be all kinds of other people snitch on him. He's got conspiracy in the D.C. case now. There's going to be more people snitching on him. He's got the New York case, which is, whatever. But they're still going to get him on that. He's done. He's done. You can't collect 100.
I got somebody watching a live stream on YouTube that says you're sniffing glue. They clearly don't believe you, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Well, those are the same people that said Trump was going to win in 2020, aren't they?
Yeah. And there was going to be a red wave, and the African Americans were going to walk away from the party. We've heard it, but we'll see. We'll see.
And probably somebody that owns one of those Trump $99 NFTs too, right?
Oh, damn. I gotta go. Appreciate you.
Buddy.
Hey, good talk. All right, I'm trying to run this simulcast on YouTube. So, like I said, for YouTube folks, understand everything's not centered. It's not designed to be ran on YouTube. So you can barely see the screen, and the screen doesn't look very clear on YouTube. But Michael Preston, I do appreciate that. Trump asked the sitting governor to commit election fraud on the phone by asking them to find 10,800 votes. He admitted his crime on many occasions. So that is no denying that President Trump is on tape asking the governor, talking about Governor Kemp of the state of Georgia, to find me, I think it was 11,000 votes, wasn't it? Whatever the number is, though. How many of you folks believe from that audio clip alone, you are listening to a man in the process of committing a crime? Now, other folks would suggest that maybe, he was just saying, listen, I'm only this far off, and if you could find these votes, I would have a chance. But what do you guys think? Find me 10,800 votes. Is that indeed a commander-in-chief on the phone with a governor trying to sway the election in the process of committing the crime? That is what the state of Georgia is charging them for. Trump asked the sitting governor to commit election fraud. Do you submit to that theory? 10,800 votes. Now, I'm looking in the comments. Some folks agree. Other folks, like American Country Boy, says the greatest show on earth, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey circus. In other words, trying to go after President Trump is nothing but a circus, because at the end of the day, the guy was just trying to, make this country great. Did nothing wrong. On the screen behind me, and I'll go back to the box shortly. By the way, in the comments, William6119 says plea deal. I could see that. I absolutely could see that. Like my last caller stated, listen, we're talking about 100 different charges so far on President Trump. I think it was 70 some odd charges before what happened today. So we're probably talking getting close to 80. And then there's going to be some coming out of the state of Georgia. So he's going to be dealing with about 100 different criminal charges. Now, the feds, we can talk about the state of Georgia on the side, but the feds have like a 96% conviction rate. And in this case, because you got 70 plus charges aimed your way, the way I always describe it is you're dealing with somebody. You're dealing with a marksman that can hit the target 96% of the time. And he has 70 shots. You expecting him to miss all 70 shots when he has a 96% accuracy rate? That is what Trump is up against. That is the gauntlet. So, yeah, I'm going to submit to the theory that he most likely will take a very, very sweet plea deal. I absolutely see that. I don't see him defeating all of these charges. Some may get thrown out. Maybe he'll be found not guilty on some others. But 100% acquittal of all of that in every one of those locations? Highly unlikely, in my opinion. Do you think Trump is going to plead the fifth? Frank Moulton, he's already done that numerous times. In fact, he showed up to court on one case. The only thing he talked about was his actual name. He pled the fifth on everything else they asked him. So he's already done that. And remember, according to President Trump, if you plead the fifth, that means you have something to hide and you're working with the mob. That is his actual words. Going back to the box. We'll keep it going with Real Trucker Jeff. Friend of the program. Haven't talked to Real Trucker Jeff in a minute. 3 indictments. Talk to me, Jeff. What do you think? 3 times.
It's a long time no talk, man.
It's a pleasure to have you back on. Do you think they're making all this shit up? Are we looking at an innocent president, former president? Do you think he is innocent of all of this shit?
Well, I mean, let's start with Georgia. Okay, you're saying that he was on the phone with Kemp. He's asking for 11,000 votes. So how about those 147,000 ballots where they had dozens of affidavits saying that they thought there was 30 to 40,000 illegitimate ballots? That, remember, they had the criminal defense team went down there and they had that evidence hidden. They wouldn't allow people to see those 147,000 ballots. Do you remember that? Because 34 to 40,000 is more than 10,000.
I remember hearing of that, but why is Trump on the phone with the governor in the middle of an election being investigated talking about find me votes?
Well, I mean, if it's a close, that to me isn't it's not out of line to say, hey, I need these votes. Like, look, it has happened in my lifetime. I think I'm older than you, but and I don't know about handsomeness, but whatever. I think I'm older than you, but
okay.
Anytime there's a close election, like a lot of times you will find they find votes in the trunk of a car and in a closet or whatever, and it always goes the way of the Democrats. So he's coming in there saying, hey, find me 10,000 votes, right? And you have not noticed that? Are you telling me you haven't noticed? Of course, I'm from New Jersey. You're Chicago, but Chicago, you know too, right?
Yeah. Well, I will say this also. When we go with the find me 11,000 vote phone call, there is more to that than we're talking about, such as there are election officials in the state of Georgia that are suggesting that he made communications with them on other occasions and they felt like he was pressuring them to swing the election. There's more than that phone call coming out of the state of Georgia.
Right, but aren't you curious about the resolution of those 140,000 votes, 140,000 ballots that were hidden from the eyes? Why wouldn't we be able to see that as Americans? Like, if there are questions, and there are dozens of affidavits saying we don't, like, the ballots aren't folded and the signatures look like they're from a computer and stuff like that.
You know, you make a good point, but my counterpoint is this. Just like I watched Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Mules a half dozen times, there is a difference between election fraud and saying that Trump won by a landslide. In other words, the point I'm trying to make is the Republicans, when they discovered election fraud, they always, and I mean literally always, 100% of the time assumed that the fraud was coming from Democrats against Republicans, as if in that election, 100% of the cheating came from Democrats and all of the Republican votes are 100% innocent. That's where the issue is. If Trump wanted to allege, listen, there was some fraud in this election, there were some ballots, some questionable activities, that's one thing. But to get up there and say, I won by a landslide and start pointing at all of the fraud and suggesting that all of that would have been in his favor is just flat out inaccurate. He has no evidence of that.
Yeah, that's hyperbole. I mean, we've known Trump's speaking patterns since the 40 years he's been on TV. He's always going to have that kind of bluster. For me, I mean, wouldn't you want to know that our vote is secure, that it's counted, that we don't have fraud? Look, as long as I've been alive, they've always said, well, there's fraud, but it's not enough to make a difference, and that's an excusable thing, right? We said, oh, okay, well, we're going to let that slide. And there's always been that joke, has always been there about dead people voting Democrat. That's been a joke You know that joke?
Yeah, but there's also a joke that Trump is a racist. That don't mean we're gonna laugh at every joke, right? I'm just asking.
No. That's true. That's true. But we shouldn't. My point is, we should never have rested on the idea that dead people could vote. Should have cleared this situation up. Now, in terms of our elections, let me go here. You know, the Democrats, they like to use African Americans as an excuse not to have voter ID. Like, black people can't get a voter ID or something.
Yeah, I don't like that. I agree there's some folks making it sound like, listen, if you're a grown-ass man, there's no excuse for why you can't pay $5 or $10 for a state ID. However, I will say this. If Republicans are so gung-ho behind the notion that you need to have an ID, which I humbly agree with, why not just get the damn things out for free? I mean, if you print out a piece of plastic with somebody's picture and some ink on it that allows them to vote, and you make that shit in bulk, you're talking about probably less than 10 cents per ID. If you want them to have it, give it to them.
Yeah, I agree. I can't argue that. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you know, but the Democrats, they want to go the other way. They want to expand the mail-in. They want to have universal in blue states. They want to have the universal mail-in stuff. For me, I think you should show up at a polling station, show your ID, and vote. But the Democrats want the opposite of that. So are you guys really for secure elections?
Here's something I disagree with on vehemently. I disagree that to have a secure election, it requires a person get up, drive down to a polling place, and actually cast a ballot, as if I cannot buy off a ballot official or still cheat. To me, if I can buy a house online, I can pay my taxes online, I can transfer a heap of money from one account to another online, why the hell can't I vote? If you trust me to do all of that other stuff, why the hell can't I vote? I can register to damn near sign up with the military online. Why can't I vote online? Why is that such an issue with that?
Yeah, but people can also falsify the title to your house online and take out loans in your name and leave you with that debt too.
You think people were not falsifying deeds and taking houses before the internet was invented? You can do it in person too.
Yeah, I just think it makes it easier.
You know, us liberals see that as, because they know a lot of folks who want to go down and vote. Here's the way I say it. Anytime you have low voter turnout, it works better for conservatives, because conservatives are typically more gung-ho about voting in elections until you have some ridiculous, like rolling back Roe versus Wade or something. But most of the time, conservatives are more gung-ho to vote in elections. So the more hurdles you put up, the more net liberals you're going to get rid of. And I do believe that this is a hurdle. Not only did they say it wants you to come down to polling places and vote, then they started playing musical chairs with the polling places hours. They started moving them around. All of a sudden, they started limiting them, so you had these long-ass lines in places like Cleveland and Atlanta. Can you explain why it would take 8 hours to vote in a major American city? Why would it take an 8-hour time period for somebody to vote?
In like Cleveland?
Yeah.
But don't the Democrats control that? Aren't they in control of it?
No, the state is it's a Republican state. The governor is a Republican.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
that's bullshit. You can say it. It's bullshit. Feel free to say it.
It is bullshit.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. It should be fair. But here again, okay, I think that I don't think it's a bad idea to have people make the effort, because if people are making the effort to vote, at least they're somewhat engaged. When you make it too easy for people, then the votes that you get, the bulk of those votes, they might be people who are low information.
But that's not
don't really know what's going on.
But in a free country, when you start trying to disqualify quote unquote low information voters, that's not your job as a U.S. citizen to decide. Voting is a right. Do you think I want low information gun? Hold on. Do you think I want low information gun owners to be able to get a gun? But they sure can. So it's not my job to say who's low information or not.
That's true. I mean, you know, take your point with the guns, and I mean that's almost a separate issue. But you know that low information voter is going to benefit Democrats every time.
Well, and I don't agree with that at all. Hell, when I see how many people threw their lives away on January 6th, there's a hell of a lot of low information voters on the right side of the aisle as well. Ashley Babbitt was clearly a low information voter.
The January 6th, there is so much there that, I mean, I don't really even want to get into it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you look at QAnon Shaman and see a master's degree in your face?
Have you listened to interviews with that? He's not an idiot, Tim.
He ain't smart. To go to the Capitol building dressed as a fucking Viking? What? That's intelligence to you?
I'll give you, he's a goofball, but the police ushered him around. He was a target because he's an icon. They wouldn't just take a regular target, a regular MAGA hat guy. He's somebody that created. I think there's a thing, something being created there that's bigger than what it should be. It's a bunch of angry people that rioted. You know what I mean? But at least they took their anger to the point of their frustration.
Well, and I agree with that. I agree that Black Lives Matter are opportunists, and I get your point. But to me, what QAnon Shaman did was the equivalent of a Black Lives Matter rioter putting on a construction vest and dressing in orange while breaking into Best Buy. You literally made yourself stand out while you're in the process of committing felonies. You don't see low information in that.
Well, no, he absolutely did it. But the thing was, there was entrapment, Tim. There was entrapment involved because he saw the police. Did you not see? Did you not watch?
I watched what Tucker Carlson. McCarthy gave Tucker Carlson a tape of some folks being let in. I agree that all of the folks in there did not violently break in there. I do agree with that, but I don't agree that it was a love fest like President Trump stated.
No, absolutely not. People were, well, okay. There were angry people, but then there were also feds in that crowd too. I don't know how we got on this topic. That's a separate thing.
We're talking about this topic because this is what he's being charged with. This is exactly what he's being charged with. Is what happened on January 6th.
But I mean, you're talking about the events, but this talking indictment. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. A lot of this stuff, if you go back to, and I know you're a reasonable person.
I try to be.
If you go read, yeah, I see that, and I appreciate it. So,
thank you.
The thing, if you read that indictment, tell me that isn't worded to excite people on the left.
Well, let me look at the charges. You're talking about the one today. They're charging him with obstruction of, huh?
Yeah, the ones today.
Yeah, they're charging them with defrauding the United States. Now, we can go into what they're explaining and how they're coming up with that conclusion. Another thing they're charging them with, and this one I can see as clear as day, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. Now, we're talking about a smooth transition of power there that day. In sending these angry folks to the Capitol building, you don't see any attempt to obstruct the process that was taking place there that day?
Well, I would not have been there, obviously. But here again, because look, there wasn't National Guard there, and if you look at how the police incited people, you know what I mean, gassing them and things of that nature. There's a lot of moving parts to them.
They are literally yanking the barricades out of the police's hands. They're beating them over the head with what appears to be Blue Lives Matter flags. There's a hell of a lot of irony in that. Taking off their shields, smashing them in doors. What were the police supposed to do?
Hang on. So some of those barriers that were removed, you see Ray Epps whispering in people's ears, and then they're running over to the barriers and removing them.
So you do submit to the theory that Trump said go peacefully, and Ray Epps incited them to do otherwise.
Look, I think it's a lot more complicated than we will make from now will understand exactly what happened on that day.
Do you believe Ray Epps incited them to be violent?
I don't believe he was a lone actor, but I believe there was incitement from. There was
Do you believe Ray Epps had any? Do you believe Ray Epps had anything to do with them being incited to be violent?
I absolutely. He was absolutely inciting people.
Okay.
You
So-
can hear him inciting people.
So let me. This is a question I've been asking. I'm gonna have to move it on, but I want to get your answer on this. This is something I've been asking a host of viewers who do submit to the same theory that Ray Epps incited a bunch of folks. If you have got in a plane, got on a bus, drove hundreds of miles to D.C. to defend President Trump, you believe he's being, wrongfully stolen, an election is being wrongfully stolen. You come out there to hear him speak. He tells you, now I want you to march to the Capitol building and do it peacefully. The Capitol building is only 2 miles from where he gave that speech. Some would argue even less than that. In those 2 miles, the entire person you came to see saying go peacefully, you're going to forget all of that and listen to some dude named Ray Epps that you don't know from Adam. How does that work? How do you get Ray Epps to convince people whose sole purpose of being there is to listen to and defend Trump to listen to some Ray Epps dude who they don't even know from a fly on the wall? How does that work? You're talking about low information voters. You're talking about sheep. How does that work?
Yeah, well, the things with Ray Epps were happening before Trump was finished speaking. He wasn't done even speaking yet. Those people didn't come down there yet.
They don't, but Jeff, they don't know who Ray Epps is. They know the man they came to defend who's saying go peacefully. How is Ray Epps able to convince them to do otherwise?
Those are two separate crowds. The people that were listening to the speech weren't the people that were breaking in. I'm saying that the people, those things happened at the same time. Trump was giving his speech, and people were breaking into the Capitol.
Yeah! Thank you, Chris Logo, for that hat and mustache. Wait a minute. So you're saying that the people who breached the Capitol building, they just came to Washington to break in the building? They decided to not even listen to Trump at all? They just literally got off the plane and said, let's go break in the building.
Yes. It happened. Look at the timeline, Tim.
Why? Wait a minute. Think about what you're saying. Why the hell would you go all the way to Washington, D.C. to defend Trump and not even give him as much respect to even listen to the speech he's given? That doesn't make sense.
Because they were feds and Antifa? What are you asking me?
Oh my God. You so deep, you sound like you're mining lithium at this point. All right.
Not at all. Trump was still giving his speech when people were down there breaking into the Capitol. That's a fact. I'm not making that up.
But I tend to disagree with you because the first thing I'm going to ask is if.
Disagree with facts.
Well, let me ask you this: if what you're saying is true, Trump is still on stage giving a speech. At the time, he is indeed the president of the United States while giving that speech. 2 miles away from him, the Capitol building is being breached. They're rushing everybody out for their safety, including the vice president. And you're going to tell me they're going to let him continue that speech with the entire government of Washington being seized? No Secret Service member is going to tell him, sir, 2 miles from here, the entire building is being taken over with all of the Senate, Congress, and the vice president. They just let him continue speaking while the building is being breached. Is that what you're telling me?
You have to look at the timing. The people that were listening to the speech didn't have time to walk 2 miles to get to the Capitol.
You told me while the speech was going, while Trump was speaking, the building was being breached.
He wasn't finished when they started breaking down barricades because they didn't immediately get into.
But you're not. What you're saying. Here's where I'm clueless. You got hundreds of people, as you just stated, breaking down barricades at the Capitol building, where all of the Senate, all of Congress, and the vice president is located, and not one person decides to get on a walkie-talkie and say, "Get the president off stage." Nobody thinks to do that.
Look, I have no idea, but
Okay.
I'm telling you,
Does that make sense to you?
look at the timing. If you look at the timing, the people that were listening to the speech didn't walk 2 miles. It would take what, 20 minutes?
I'm going by. I'm acting as though everything you're saying is 100% factual. The point I'm making is that you stated While Trump was still on stage, the Capitol building was being breached. I'm asking you, with President Trump being literally surrounded by Secret Service, why did no one receive a call telling him, you need to get your ass off stage? The vice president is under siege less than 2 miles from here. Why wouldn't that happen?
My only point is those aren't the same people, okay? Look, it would have taken those people, you have to concede that 2 mile walk takes a few minutes.
How long does it take for a walkie-talkie signal to travel 2 miles? Am I getting this wrong?
No. Tim, you're missing my point.
I agree.
The people that were at the speech, the people that were listening to the speech were not the same people that were breaking into the Capitol. They didn't have time.
That ain't the point I'm making. What I'm saying is that while the Capitol building was being broken into, even if you got peaceful people listening to Trump speak, less than 2 miles from him, all of the Senate, Congress, and the vice president are running for their lives. Why would nobody get on television or on the radio rather say we need to protect the commander in chief and get him off the damn stage? That doesn't make sense to me.
Look, you have to look at the timing. You're trying to make this a trivial thing, but it's not. Those people, you're saying that those people that were listening to the speech walked 2 miles and broke into the Capitol. That's not what happened.
That ain't what I'm going with. I'm going with your statement that the building was being breached while the man was on stage. Doesn't matter if it's...
Look, prior to the people that were listening to it having had time to walk down and do it, okay? Maybe not on the stage, but I'm saying the people that were listening, this is my only point, the people that were listening to the speech were not the people breaking.
I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is the Capitol building is being breached. I don't care if the Capitol building was on fire. They would still take the president off stage. There is an unsafe event less than 2 miles from where you're speaking.
Right. Okay. So Tim. Let's say speech is finished, Trump is shuttled off, then the break-in happens. Are the people listening to the speech the same people that were breaking into the Capitol?
Well, that's where you and I disagree. That's where you and I disagree. I don't believe that folks went out to D.C. and in defense of Trump and didn't even listen to the speech. I don't believe that. I believe those folks that were at their building with MAGA flags and MAGA hats on, all of them heard Trump, Rudolph Giuliani, Steve Bannon. I believe they heard all of them speak. You and I disagree on that. I'll give you the last word. I do got to move it on, though.
Okay. You know what? I appreciate it. You know what would solve that for the both of us? There are 40,000 hours of video. If they would release the tape and we could both see with our own eyeballs, then we would both know. I don't know that I'm right. I don't know that you're right. But the video, the evidence exists. If we just see it, then we both know.
Fair point. All right, Jeff. All right, you always welcome back. Spirited debate, come on through anytime. Good to hear from you again, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, looking in the comments, and I do appreciate you folks on YouTube that are tuned into this. The breach after the president told the crowd to go to the Capitol building. I watched the entire episode, says Ida Wright. I saw it that way as well. However, my last caller, Jeff, the way he stated it, where the building was being breached by a totally different crowd than who listened to. I've heard other people. He's not the only one that said that. Repair and support. Damn. Appreciate the donation. I cannot figure out if you lean right or left, but your rationality is above normal. Coffee is on me. Listen, in regards to what side of the aisle I lean, I do lean left socially, which is why the program is titled The Handsome Liberal. However, I make it clear, this is always a MAGA-friendly program. It always will be in its entirety. The whole sole purpose of why I don the MAGA gear is to let folks know that I truly believe conservatives, Republicans, and particularly MAGA do not get a fair shake in the mainstream media. I believe in free speech. First Amendment rights always reign supreme here. So it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, doesn't matter what you represent. You deserve a right to speak just like the next man. You see how with my last caller, I equipped back when he started talking about low energy voters shouldn't vote. You have a right to speak. You have a right to vote. No one else has the right to tell you you're not smart enough to vote. Your opinion is not worthy enough to get out. Damn it, the Constitution applies to us all. That is why I make it clear. The program is friendly to everybody. I don't block, ban, or censor anyone. I don't limit your time simply because we have a disagreement. Looking in the comments, J6 is a distraction from Biden crimes. You know something? I totally disagree. First of all, the crimes that Biden is being accused of, repair and support, appreciate that. You're absolutely welcome. The crimes that Biden is being accused of, for the most part, they all happened, many of them even before Trump became president. If you think it's a distraction, we have to ask, why didn't Trump go after this guy? Very similar to the suggestion that Hillary Clinton was a criminal. Trump promised to drain the swamp. Why didn't he go after these people? I mean, are we expecting Democrats to do all of this when Trump promised this? So if you really want to look at Biden or Hillary and suggest that they're, corrupt and Trump is innocent, then you got to hold Trump accountable. Why didn't he go after these folks when he was in office for 4 years? Looking in the comments, I'll give you that. I think he failed on draining the swamp. Yeah, absolutely he failed. Absolutely. I mean, when we talk about a corrupt Department of Justice, a politicized FBI, regardless of how you feel about these three-letter organizations, the conversation I'm having, particularly with my beloved MAGA, that these organizations are corrupt, this is the same song and dance we were discussing in 2015. Didn't we elect Trump, talking to MAGA? Wasn't that the purpose of electing him? Is to clean this shit up? Yet we're having this same conversation in 2023. He served 4 years. What was the accomplishment in regards to this? I don't see anything. He's complaining about Washington being just as corrupt as he did when he came down the escalator. First thing he said when he came down the escalator, the system is rigged, it's all rigged. Then he won the election, had rallies all over the country. How many speeches did you hear Trump give while he was president that included him proposing ways to fix a rigged election? Essentially, once he won the presidency, he didn't give a damn about it being rigged anymore. That's what I'm trying to say, is that if all of these problems existed, you have to hold him accountable for not fixing shit he discussed that was a problem when he got elected. Looking in the box will keep the program moving. I do appreciate you folks. And for you guys on TikTok, tap the screen. Haven't been asking you guys to do that. 600 plus of you in here. You can be any damn where you want to be on this app. I appreciate you rolling with your boy. Get the likes up to 30,000. Let your thumbs not be lazy. I haven't asked for that, but we're going to keep it moving. Chief, Judge, Political, appreciate you holding. So we're asking, is it all a witch hunt? Is President Trump, former President Trump, is he innocent of all of this shit? People just making it up. Talk to me, Political.
Well, as my grandmother used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So
does that apply to Hunter Biden? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Does that apply to Hunter Biden as well?
Hunter Biden, I think Hunter Biden has personally done things that are illegal, but I think when they're bringing in Joe Biden, I don't think it's illegal. I think it's a little unethical, maybe to use your name, like a nepotism type of ordeal. But
but let me ask it to you this way. With you suggesting that you believe Hunter Biden has committed crimes, and it can't necessarily be tied to Joe Biden. Let me ask it to you this way. Do you think Joe Biden was totally ignorant 100% of what his son may have been doing?
I'm not going to say that he was ignorant to the facts. I do think he's involved in his kids' lives, but I don't think that it's necessarily his.
I don't know if my caller got a phone call. I'm going to give him a second to come back.
Can you hear me now?
You're loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I understand what you're saying. But, Hunter is a grown-ass man, so it's stuff that, I think parents know that their kids are doing, but what can they do? I mean, instead of saying, hey, man, get some help. I mean, I know you heard the call one day where he says, you're not okay, you need to get help. So there's only how much you can do.
I'm going to tell you something, though. If I'm the president of the United States, I don't give a damn if it's my mama. If you ain't about to mess this up. You need to chill. Mama, I can get you any kind of money you need to get your hands on.
But these are privileged kids. These are privileged kids that, again, I just think that, some parents are very, very lenient on their kids, and their kids get away with shit because their daddy will always save them. And I think that that's Hunter Biden, right? Because Bo was on his shit. Bo did what he needed to do, right? Bo was the exemplary type of child. Hunter was always the fucking troublemaker.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just don't know if I'll hold it to the president that will. And I didn't vote for Hunter Biden, so I really don't care.
That's a good point. That's a real good point. Hunter Biden is not a politician, but at the end of the day, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say to what I said was earlier, I do appreciate you pushing back on this low informed voters, because you don't get to decide who's low, because I think he's low informed, right? But does that mean that he doesn't get the vote? No, that doesn't work like that.
Right.
And I think the way that they have to run around when you're pushing back, and the way he has to run around that, just like with the January 6th and all that, that was in the committees where they talked about people were heading up to the Capitol before Donald Trump was done speaking. But the simple fact of it is I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think Trump has definitely done something wrong, and I think he'll be held accountable.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this in regards to my issue with low energy voters. Keep in mind, as an African American, that used to prevent us from voting because you had to pass a poll test. If you didn't have enough, if you weren't educated, you couldn't vote because they had a test and things like that. So I don't like trying to limit who can vote based on education, because you can word any test to disqualify certain groups of people. For instance, Jason Aldean in his new song, if you ask African Americans to name the lyrics in that song, how many of us would know that shit? You can ask people certain questions. I can go find a white guy down in rural Alabama and have him sing the anthem, "The Good Times." You think he passed that? So, yeah. So,
and the thing is with the phone call in Georgia, he says, because I agree with what he was saying at first, because he's saying, well, the president's just concerned about voter fraud. He's trying to make sure that the integrity of the ballot is there. But I listened to that hour phone call, and he says, no, Mr. President, the information that you have is wrong, right? So it wasn't, so he knew what was right, and he was telling him, sir, what you have is wrong. And he continues to pressure him by saying, well, you know what, listen, man, look, it was a shakedown. Listen, how about this? Just find me 11,780 votes. Let's get this shit over with. And he tells him, aren't you a Republican? Aren't you a Republican?
Yeah.
Then he tells him, he says, I'm telling you now, this could be criminal behavior. He basically started accusing him of a crime. Yeah. I don't know if you remember the whole conversation.
I do remember that part. And speaking of what you're talking about,
because he's saying, not only do I need you to find these votes, but you're telling me you won't find them. You know that if you're talking to the president and the president is telling you may have committed a crime, that's pressuring you.
Yeah, that's a threat. That's a threat. That is a threat. Yeah, that is a threat.
Aren't you, they tell him, Brad, aren't you a Republican?
Yeah. Well, in regards to what you're talking about too, some other testimony came out that when he was asking Mike Pence to do shit, he actually responded and told Mike Pence, "You're too innocent." I mean, he actually told him, "You are too innocent, man." So.
Didn't he tell him too? He said something like, "You see all those people out there." And it was like, or something that he said, they're here for me, or something.
Yeah, they were trying, the Secret Service was trying to get him, because he wanted to go to the Capitol building. According to the January 6th testimony, he did want to go to the Capitol building with that crowd. And the Secret Service told him, it's too dangerous. We haven't even patted down or vetted whoever's in that crowd. And he told them, they're not here to harm me.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Let me ask you before I go, because I'm about to get off of work here.
Sure.
Do you think if he was to get indicted on these crimes, do you think that they will put in a substitute nominee? Do you think they will go ahead and give it to Ron or give it to him? Do you think the Republican Party in the back of their head has a backup plan? Or do you think they will allow a convicted felon to run as president under their nomination?
They're going to go with the convicted felon, because at the end of the day, I don't think the Republican Party is in a position to do anything without Trump's approval. And Trump is not going to favor putting Ron DeSantis in his place. If Trump says I want to run, the Republican Party is going to say, then you the man.
But where's our standards at, liberal? Where's it? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying saying that just because someone is a convicted felon that they shouldn't be able to be president.
Shit, I am.
well, what I'm saying is if you just committed it, I see that. But let's say you did something 20, 30 years ago.
Okay,
I don't
fair
think
enough.
That speaks to you.
Fair enough.
I don't think that speaks to you of today. But they don't let somebody who just got convicted of federal charges to be their guy.
Well, you got to understand, they believe the charges are bullshit. So it would be like if I wanted to hang. Here's a good example. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to hang out with you, and you knew I was charged with murder or I was charged with abusing kids or something like that. But you figured you knew me as a stand-up guy. You knew me since second grade. You're gonna hang with me and like, fuck them charges. I know you didn't do that. That's how they see Trump. They see him as innocent.
I'm gonna tell you right now, liberal. If you got convicted of unalive,
I went too far. I get it.
You know what I'm saying? And the whole jury and everybody said it was you. I mean, maybe we'll talk on the phone, but I don't know if I'm gonna be hanging out too much. I'll talk to you later.
All right, good talk, good talk. Chief Judge Political. All right, looking in the comment section. But that is the spiel that I get. They believe Trump is completely innocent. They believe all of the charges are witch hunts. He's being railroaded. So that is why MAGA, Trump supporters, are going to ride with the man even if he is incarcerated, even if he is a convicted felon. They're going to ride with him because they believe the charges are not legitimate. So that is the whole purpose behind it. Looking in the comments, how often do the Fred play with you? Rochester raised me overnight. How often do the Fred play with? I don't quite get that comment. Sometimes I get comments that I'm clueless. Maybe it's a typo. Again, Melania Trump came over on an illegal visa. Papa Storm. I don't know how Melania Trump entered the country. However, it does seem ironic that President Trump is known for criticizing immigrants so strongly when he has a wife that speaks English with a heavy Eastern European accent. I totally agree with that. I totally think that seems a bit ironic. Did she come legally? I don't know. However, her family all gained legal residency during Trump's presidency. Do I believe that was just a natural process of things when it can take years and years to come in this country legally? No, I do not. No, I do not. Just like with his daughter getting 20 patents. We can talk about Hunter Biden. I'm not going to exonerate Hunter Biden, but I'm not going to pretend like Jared Kushner getting a $2 billion investment deal from the Saudis and Ivanka getting 26 patents should be silenced either. If we're going to point it out, damn it, let's point it out. Looking in the comment section. New York wants the border secured now, though, says Anthony Lopez. What do you guys think about Governor Greg Abbott with the what are those things, like little orange barbers he's putting in the water that if you try to swim across the Rio Grande and you touch these damn things, they keep spinning so you can't get over them. You look like a hamster on a wheel out in the middle of the river. And under them, there's a net, so you cannot swim under them either. What do you think about the notion that it appears as if Governor Greg Abbott has done more to secure the border than President Trump? Just want to point that out because Governor Greg Abbott wasn't collecting money for bricks on the wall. He wasn't raising campaign funds or anything. I'm no fan of Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, but I do have to admit, when you're talking about securing the border, he's done more than Trump. And he didn't raise any campaign money to do it. He just simply did it. Looking in the comments, said Beverly says he should be thrown in that water. Well, if you throw the governor in the Rio Grande, keep in mind, in addition to these barbers in nets so that you can't swim across, there is also a suggestion that they have submerged razor wire in the water. So if you're trying to get across the Rio Grande and enter the United States, you could end up getting caught up in razor wire that's actually under the water. Obviously, there's all sorts of injury potential there. Not to mention there's a lot of children, babies, and all of that enter the country illegal. I mean, can you imagine a mom carrying her infant across the border and all of a sudden her legs are getting chopped up by razor wire and it causes her to drop the baby in her hands down into the water where there's more razor wire? But we've done whole shows on this. I've had MAGA personnel tell me that if you're crossing the country illegally and it results in your baby getting sliced up, hey, you shouldn't have did it. Come the legal way. In the comments, repair and support. Why is Trump looking for lost Republican votes in Georgia different from Dems looking for Dem areas in Florida back in 2000? Well, and I'm assuming you're talking about the hanging chads, Al Gore versus George W. Bush. Many folks suggested that that Al Gore won that election. Here's the difference, though. Even though liberals were accusing George W. Bush of stealing the election, obviously we didn't take it anywhere near to the level that Trump and MAGA has taken the 2020 election. Al Gore himself stated that he decided for the sake of the country, he did not take it to the Supreme Court and was going to leave it as is. Whereas Trump, 3 years later, is still saying, I won the election and accusing Democrats of fraud. So I think it's, when you say what's the difference, I think it is the level of hostility or resentment, resistance that Trump has taken it to. Did Al Gore eventually concede to Bush? We know Trump will never do that. Many would suggest no matter what happens in 2024, Trump is not likely to concede that either. So I think there's some differences, mainly because of the way Trump handled the 2020 election. I've said it before, even though I lean left, I believe the way Trump was running the country while he was president was worthy of a second term. If he had simply just been a presidential leader like the rest of them, not getting in fights all the damn time, not pushing back and fighting back with everybody who criticized him and things like that, I think he would have got reelected. I truly believe that his mouth talked him out of a job. COVID, some of his handling of COVID, there are folks who don't like that, but I do believe for the most part it was his mouth. Appreciate that, Fancy Prancy, certainly a friend of the program. Thank you for that heart. I do believe that the mouth is what got him. I don't think the country was doing that bad under President Trump. I think it was just he would not stop getting in fights. In the administration of George W. Bush, Kanye West got on television at the time when he was still a black man and stated that George Bush does not like white people. George Bush, in his book, Decision Points, which I got behind me some damn where. Anyhow, George Bush in his book stated, here it is right here. George Bush in his book stated, I actually cried when Kanye West accused me of not liking black people. He could have did what Trump did. He could have got on television and criticized the hell out of Kanye. God knows there's a lot to criticize Kanye on. But then he would have been at odds with all of Kanye West's fans, which at the time was most African Americans. Not anymore. But at that time, a hell of a lot of black people would have pushed back, just simply ruining Bush's support from African Americans even more. That's the difference between Bush and Trump. You don't have to show up to every fight you're invited to. You just don't. You win the fights you don't get involved in, and that goes to my Uber crowd. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, looking back in the comments, I think they could just dig at the bottom of the net and swim. You assuming they can hold their breath that damn long. You don't know how long that net is. I don't want to go swimming underwater in hopes of negotiating the net once I get to the bottom. That's a good ass way to drown, because if you get caught in that net and you cannot resurface, you don't have a lot of time. You just don't. I'm not going to do that. Looking into the box, will keep it moving. The truth will set you free. I love the name. Good evening. We're talking about a third indictment of former President Trump. Is it all a witch hunt?
You know, I'm not going to admit any wrongdoing. There is obviously a little bit of wrongdoing. You got to look at it. He was pissed off because he truly thought that he was, being screwed. And I'm sure that some of the things he said, like you said, I was listening to it earlier. You said pressuring. The pressuring thing I can understand, but like a lot of it is a little far of a stretch. A little bit.
Well,
but you got to think about it this way.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, when you say pressuring, if I'm a CEO and I'm pressuring one of my secretaries for some pussy, that's a crime. It's not just pressuring. You're pressuring somebody you're pressuring somebody to change an election. That's not just pressuring. That's a crime.
there's something going on with that. But like my point being, okay, you see how far Trump is right now in the polls, ahead of everyone, correct?
Right. A lot, by a lot.
And yes, even the Democrats. Okay, so with that being said, if he can run as president, even if he's sitting in a cell, and right now, everybody, Democrats, MAGA, Republicans, everybody is making this man a damn. He's a legend in his own mind, in his own they're making him huge with every single indictment, with every single charge. He grows more populous to everybody.
But what is that?
So much support.
What does that say? That's just like in the hip hop community, we tend to idolize criminals, thugs, and gangbangers. MAGA is turning into hip hop fans at this point. If the man is guilty of a crime, we're getting to the point where the justice system cannot go after him because it makes MAGA like him more.
Well, it's not only MAGA. I mean, I've personally seen the left switch because of the shit that's going on with this man. I've personally seen it.
You believe an actual Democrat, a true Democrat, would vote for Trump because he's being indicted?
100%. My buddy's grandpa was a diehard Democrat. He would have jacked off Obama. I'm saying, bro, like he was a diehard Democrat, and I'm serious. Like he seriously thinks that all this is crazy, and he seriously is now a conservative. And he was a Democrat his entire life.
Let me tell you why I don't, to me that doesn't make sense. If I'm a Democrat and I believe in, say, a woman having a right to choose, I'm an ally of the LGBT community, maybe I believe in common sense gun laws, but because Trump is being mistreated, I'm going to throw out all of my principles and support him. That makes sense?
It's not just because of Trump's being mistreated. It's because of their election of duty and like their duty to the government or to the country to run it the way it's supposed to be ran. Because the politicians are not doing their fucking job, guy. This is ridiculous on both sides. The fucking Republicans are pussies. They don't have no guts, and the Democrats they don't know what the hell's going on. They're just fucking worrying about lining their pockets, just the same as the Republicans.
But I understand that. I don't necessarily disagree with that part. But the part I do vehemently disagree with is that you're going to throw out all of your political principles because you're sympathizing that Trump is being mistreated. So all of a sudden, everything you care about, you're going to throw all that away because you think this guy's getting mistreated.
Well, they're fed up with the system, and you know how a lot of people they got this angst for people that are being mistreated, and they want to be the hero, or they want to be like, okay, well, this guy's getting mistreated, so I'm going to back up this guy because those guys are being bullies for no reason. It's a play on feelings, man. I mean, like seriously, this country is in a spot right now where we're completely 100% utterly lost. And
well, if you consider if you're suggesting that we're 100% utterly lost, do you think Trump is the man to help us be found?
honestly, I do, because for the simple reason, like you said yourself, when he was president, our country was not doing that bad. Okay?
True.
And anybody who says our country was doing bad is an idiot. They don't listen. They're ignorant. Okay. Trump's mouth. That's another thing. Trump has a fucking mouth. He doesn't know how to shut his fucking mouth. He's so full of himself that, like you said, it gets him into trouble. That's the only reason why he didn't get reelected, other than the fact that people think that the election was stolen, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but now, Trump, he's a businessman, and right now we need a businessman.
How do you know something? I want to interrupt you and say that, because it's pretty common that folks say he's a businessman, and I do agree. He certainly was a very successful businessman, but at the end of the day, how do you run a business successfully talking to people like he does?
Because people respect power and authority like that.
That's disrespect. That's not power and authority. When you start grabbing me by the dick, that ain't power. That's disrespect. I don't want to be Terry Hughes.
Yeah, I wasn't defining it as power and authority. I'm just saying that type of power and authority, that dysentery ball stank, like that dickheadness. It's like he's trying to stout his power, and some people, or actually a lot of people, they look up to that kind of thing, whether you're disrespectful or not. I've seen it happen at my job. I've seen it happen in,
Let me ask you personally. Let me ask you personally yourself. Would you look up to your employer if he talked to you like that?
Depending on how I was treated, as far as the things that I needed, did I like if I have a problem at work or if I need a material, will this boss get it for me? Would he get me time? Would he always pay me on time? Would he give me a raise if I earned it? If he talked to me like an asshole,
wait a minute. But don't most jobs pay you on time and give you a raise if you earn it? My Uber fans don't respond to that. But don't most folks, don't they do that anyway?
I've been at a few jobs where they say, oh, well, we have 72 hours after your pay period to pay you legally, blah, blah, blah. I've been fucked around, right? Like, speaking of things, my last paycheck that I just got, I was kind of fucked around. I was supposed to have it earlier in the day. It didn't come until later in the day because they were busy and they had things to do. But that's neither here nor now. But I get what you're saying. But at the same time, I've seen it happen to numerous people.
So let me ask you this. Because many would suggest that Ron DeSantis, until he started going so far to the damn right, but before then, most folks were suggesting you could get all of the same policies of Trump from Ron DeSantis without the baggage. Why not pick another candidate that's going to give you a similar America without the stuff that you're admitting is false, like the name calling, the insults? Why not just pick somebody else that can do that?
You're talking about like picking Ron instead of...
Trump is not the only Republican that's going to secure the border. Greg Abbott down in Texas has the same sentiment as Trump. So does Ron DeSantis. There's a lot of people who would give you, a lot of folks on the right that would run the country very similar to President Trump without all of that rhetoric, name calling, and infighting. Why not go with one of them?
Yeah, but do you think that either of those candidates that you speak of have the same resolve as Trump?
I think they can get the same shit done. Ron DeSantis has went so far to the right, I think he's kind of out of it at this point. But before he went to the right, I think that Trump is now going to get resistance simply because he's Trump. I think a hell of a lot of other Republican candidates could run and get a lot less resistance because they don't go around deliberately trying to insult people.
No, I get that, but you know damn well as I know if Trump runs, Trump wins this election. He's not going to lose.
Didn't they say that in 2020?
Yeah, but it wasn't the same kind of situation it is now.
What changed?
The same fact of the bully factor. Everyone's looking at this as, they think that he was wrongfully treated and they think that he's being fucked. So there's going to be people that can back him up. And there's more people than MAGA that support Trump. He has an independent vote now, too. So
let me ask you this. So in other words, you're suggesting that Trump's support since 2020 has expanded?
Oh, hell yes. 100%.
I don't see that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see that at all. I see, because there's too many Republicans on television, on social media, even making commercials not talking about, I really supported Trump, I like his policies, but he's got too much baggage. You got too many Republicans doing that now, but you think his base has grown.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So let me ask you, if his base has actually grown since 20, what the hell happened in the midterms?
The midterms, I think that we were all still thinking about the whole 2020 deal.
And you think we forgot about it now, a year later? Replace Obama. He didn't get that shit done. He promised to build a wall. He didn't get that shit done. He promised to drain the swamp. He didn't got a shit he promised he didn't get done.
I agree with that. But you gotta look at how much shit did he have to do.
Well, that's what happens when you become president.
So you don't think that there was a little bit of extra shit being thrown his way than a lot of other presidents?
Well, it ain't like people were saying he was born in Kenya. I mean, stuff happens.
Yeah, I get that, but Trump had a lot to deal with. Everyone wants to act like he was just an asshole, but that man dealt with a lot of shit.
That man dealt out. That man dealt out a lot of shit.
Yes, he did. I don't disagree with that one bit.
I mean, at the end of the day, did we think that Trump was going to come to power? Let me give it to you this way. You can tell me to go to hell or explain and give me your opinion on what you think. In my opinion, when Trump suggested that he was coming to drain the swamp, he was going to name names and get rid of Washington, get rid of corruption in Washington, he was akin to, say, a sergeant going to a police department and telling the lieutenant, if you hire me, I'm going to name names and help you get rid of all the corrupt cops in your department. You think the other cops are going to work with this sergeant once he gets hired? Do you really think he's not going to have any problems in that department at all? That's what Trump did.
So you're saying Trump was the cop that said he was going to help the department, right?
He came into office promising to be a snitch. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And would you agree that both sides are implicated in everything that he said he was going to do, which why he wasn't able to get as much help as he wanted to, and the other half didn't have enough balls to stand up to do it themselves?
I agree partially with that. What the problem I have, though, is that there are too many Trump supporters, MAGA, suggesting that they never gave Trump a chance from day one. And that's what I'm saying. If you promised to be a snitch, why the hell are you so surprised that people are not cooperating with you? Why are you even complaining about it? Why are you even complaining about it? Seemed like you would expect that.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you gotta think about it. Those politicians are just pussies. All they care about is money. They won't stand up for anything they believe in. They go with the damn crowd. They don't have their own opinions. They don't have their own ways of thinking.
You're telling me politicians care. You're telling me politicians care nothing about money, but we decide to elect a guy with gold toilets and a plane with his name on the side. I don't get the difference.
I'm saying politicians will say anything that their lobbyists that are paying them tell them to say.
Yeah, that's how the country's been ran from day one. You think Trump is going to change that?
He proved that he did.
How so? You're telling me that doesn't happen anymore now?
No, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does happen. It happens on a level that you and I can't even begin to fucking fathom. But he was one of the ones that wasn't as easily bought. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did put up a fight to a lot of the people that tried to initiate ideas and thoughts on him to try making him do what they wanted to do.
He put up a fight and they kicked him out of office. He didn't drain the swamp. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, all of them survived him. He put up a fight, as you say, and they kicked his ass, and now he's out trying to get back in. Where's the accomplishment?
Well, like I said before, the things that he had to deal with, it made it a lot harder. I mean,
I get that. I agree 100% they made it harder, but I'm trying to find out from you, why is that such a surprise? You're going to come to Washington, drain the swamp, name names and snitch on everybody. This is really hard to do. What did you expect was going to happen?
Well, I'm sure he expected that, but it's just like everyone expects, he said it, so he has to do it. Like, look at how shit that Biden said. He hasn't done shit.
Well, Biden didn't promise to come to Washington and snitch on everybody.
Biden promised to build back better. Where the hell's that?
Some would argue that the infrastructure deal is an accomplishment. I mean, it depends on who you talk to.
Okay, there is good things in the infrastructure bill, but there's a lot more stuff that a lot of people don't read. If you read that whole bill, you'll realize that bill is a fucking farce, and it's one of the worst bills that has ever been introduced to our country from day one.
Okay, I mean, listen, I don't... Go ahead.
I was saying, yes, it does have good ideas. It does have a shiny cover. It really does. It even amazed me at first. I was like, damn, this is a good bill. But then I actually read some things, and I can't even, like, it's just ridiculous. Like,
yeah, but listen, here's the problem. No matter how bad Biden may look to some, we're talking about a complete loss of Roe versus Wade, women having the right to choose. You got Republicans suggesting that if a woman has an abortion, she should be executed. So do we vote for $2 gas and allow something like that to happen?
No, I don't believe in that. I believe in that there's a few exceptions to abortion. But I don't believe the shit that California is trying to do with the 28 days after that. That's ridiculous.
You believe California is trying to allow women 28 days after giving birth to have an abortion? You believe that?
I heard that. I think it's 100% true.
It ain't true at all. That's not true at all, man.
What was the context on that? Why do people say that? Like, what makes people say that happened? Because I've been trying to stay out of politics for a while, but I always liked watching your lives. I used to have another account, but then I hurt somebody's feelings, and then so I got this account.
I get it all the time. Well, the purpose of that is to demonize. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like there's not demonization on the right as well. I mean, on the left as well, but there's nobody in California being allowed to take a child that's 28 days old, umbilical cord already cut, already sipping from a bottle, and you can go out and kill that. Nobody's doing that. That's not happening in California anywhere.
I'm not saying this for sure. I'm just saying this.
It ain't true at all. It is completely false. It's right down there where you vote people that's going to do that stuff, and that's true. Even though you don't have a problem with the transgender community, the people you're voting in clearly do. I got to move on, though, Truth. Appreciate you coming in. Good talk. Absolutely, anytime. All right, looking in the comments, and that's the problem, is that you do have a lot of folks on the right. I don't have a problem with trans. I don't have a problem with the LGBT community. You know, I don't have a problem with a woman having the right to choose or whatever. Fact is, you're voting in people that do, and they're eliminating those rights. They're attacking those folks. I mean, so it doesn't matter if you have that opinion or not. It's just like we talk about racial issues sometimes, and you got to admit only 1% of whites own slaves, which is true. Most white people did not own slaves during slavery, but they voted for people who was in favor of it. So whether or not you are a fan of what's happening, if you're voting and supporting it, then you're a co-conspirator in it. That's just the way it is. Looking in the comments, vote for me and everyone will get beat to hell up. Big nasty. That's not nice. Knowing that won't help nobody. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. That is true, but you spell waste, W-A-I-S-T. They are lying, plain and simple. I think both sides are telling their share of fibs. I think both sides are. No, they don't want it thrown down our kids' throat. Doug, I want to respond to that. We'll move the program on. I'll go back to the box, but one of the biggest levels of resistance from the Republican Party is exactly what you stated. We don't have a problem with the LGBT community. We just do not want it shoved down our kids' throat. Meaning that the community is fine, but don't mess with our children. I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again. The LGBT community is being addressed because of what we think they may do to children that's harmful. There's not an instance of LGBT members harming children. We're passing all these laws against that community because we think they may be harmful if they go in the wrong restroom, or if they, if they're on certain movies and shit like that, or if you read books about LGBT lifestyles. Many people think it may be harmful to children. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. However, here's where I'm confused. The Catholic Church, the Mormon Church, Lutheran Church, there's no thinking involved. We know they have been harmful to children for generations. Yet the Republican Party is pro-Catholic and anti-LGBT. Can someone explain that? When you look at the level, the significant amount of children that has been harmed by one group compared to what you think the other group is capable of. Yet they continue going to Catholic churches, the Boy Scouts, all of these groups have a hell of a lot more history of abusing children that the LGBT community would take need generations just to catch up to. Yet the Republican Party, claiming they favor children, are pro-Catholic, pro-Lutheran, pro-Mormon, but anti-LGBT. Which leads me to ask the simple question. Is it really about being pro-child? Or do you just do not like the gay lifestyle? And you're using children as a mechanism to address these people? That is my humble opinion, because if you truly were in the market to protect children, you would have shut the churches down completely in America. There's no damn way folks would still be flying to Rome to see the Pope and shit like that. They were literally protecting abusers at the highest levels in some of these churches. But a gay dude walks in the bathroom and all of a sudden now your child is in danger. But you're letting them hang out with the priest on Sunday? Somebody explain it to me. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. All right, going back to the box, and somebody says it's a false narrative. I'd sure like to know how. Going back to the box, can't argue with a name like The End to prevent him.
And I think he should win. Black guy in the state of Arizona, of one of the most racist states in the 50. And I am, but the difference between me and I guess other people who feel some type of way is I understand that white men do have an inherent dislike for black men. I say that because if all things were equal, black men automatically rise to the top. Why do I say this? If you look at all the sports, when they're not like playing the sport, like the draft and all those kind of things, and you see all of the white guys and the black guys, right? And you see them all getting ready to be $1 million fellas, right?
Okay.
And so the girls could have any.
Wait. Let me interrupt you real quick and ask. You started this laugh on my ass, but what with this? I don't quite get this.
Watch me work, because this is why I love Trump. And because I have watched the evolution of Mexicans who were once upon a time a very nice, humble people that sold tamales to now, where they are very cartel minded and do not appreciate black people at all. They are bullies whenever they have the numbers to do so.
You do realize how we acquired this country, right?
Yeah. We lost the Alamo. We came back and took everything.
Okay.
Sam Houston. Yeah, I know exactly what happened.
So why do you support Trump? I'm real curious.
Because at the end of the day, I'm an American and I'm a nationalist. There's nothing better than America. I don't care who you are. There's nothing better than America. And my people are an integral part of this fabric of this country. I'm not giving that up because somebody has a problem with my skin tone. Absolutely not. Them cotton fields that
have you ever been to a Trump rally?
I've worked close to them.
I just want to give you my piece of advice. Don't say this shit at a Trump rally. I don't want to see you on TV in the wrong way. Don't say this stuff at a Trump rally.
I talk to white men often. I am an articulate. I'm another, like you're the handsome whatever you guys. You said the handsome liberal guy.
Yes,
indeed. Listen, you and I are two well-spoken Negroes, and when you speak well like we do, we often can get in conversation with speaking white men and hold our own very well. I am that guy that does that.
And so you do believe that white women are more attracted to us?
All things being equal, absolutely. There's no doubt. I'm from Arizona.
Okay.
I'm from Arizona. Listen to me. A brother can come to this city and pick any white woman he wants. And listen, he don't have to be a $20 million brother. He can be a hobo on the side of the street. Oh, yes, all things being equal, black men will absolutely win every time.
I don't think Jason Aldean would like you. I just want to say that.
And you know what Jason Aldean's small town song, as racist as it is, listen, this is the only thing I have to say about. See, I appreciate a white person that can be racist and stand on it. I appreciate you. I like Trump. Biden, I wish they would go put him and give him the same that crack cocaine thing he has ruined 50 years worth of people with.
Wait a minute, so obviously you believe Biden has drug issues, but do you believe Trump is a racist? Is that what you're saying?
No, Trump is not a racist, no.
Okay.
He's a rich white man who had a KKK father. And obviously there is some impact to that. Absolutely, he's going to have some biases that are off the wall. Of course, and the man loves his father. So you cannot just say, dismiss everything your father said, because being in New York, let's be real, being in New York, some of them weird stereotypes I'm sure his father came up with, you can look around, New York where Trump was, some of the stereotypes fit. So I give him that grace.
So let me ask you this. Do you submit to the theory that Trump is often saying that he did more for black people than any president in recent history? Do you agree with that as a Trump supporter?
I do agree with that. Who did more? Who did more?
Oh, shit. I think giving black people universal health care is a hell of a lot better than donating money to HBCUs.
Well, he didn't give that to black people. He gave that to everybody. That wasn't a black thing. That was to everybody. Yeah. Trump giving money to the HBCUs was a black thing. Trump giving the black thing. Nobody else has done the black thing other than Abraham Lincoln. And we all know what that
you're going to exclude Lyndon Johnson and the whole Civil Rights Act with Martin Luther King, huh?
Now, see, I really understand what that is. So I have a different position on that. And I even say that because listen, I have a new revelation on that too. I actually heard, I guess he was a brother on one of these little chat we were doing here. He's about 67 years old, and he talked about how it was prior to civil rights. Because he said, y'all think it's just us trying to go get something to eat and stuff like that. He goes, no, it is nothing like that. He goes, it was literally like we couldn't get water at the park. We'd be walking down the street. We literally had to cross the street. We literally had to stop whatever we were doing when we saw those people. It was not about going to get coffee at the coffee shop. And that is a twist to the new generation, I guess, really don't fully understand. So even though I do believe begging those people to like us is our present day Achilles heel.
Wait a minute. Let me correct you. The entire civil rights movement was not about begging white folks to like us. It was about begging white folks to leave us alone and let us be an
the water hose on the N-words, and then the woman say at the end of the clip, she said, I can't hear out of one ear to this day because of what happened as a child to me. Now, see, to me, I'm being the guy that I am. Now, let me just put a pin there and say this. 5 years ago, 2018, January, right as Trump got elected, I was in the mall. Two white boys decided to give me, Trump was off the chain when he first got started, right? So I was in the mall. Two white guys thought it was their day to try me, right? But again, me being Wild Wild West, who I am, I was more than prepared for the fellas on that day. Needless to say, I ended up with a case, which is technically self-defense, but I ended up with a case. I say that to say that the color of their skin and the size of their balls does not scare me at all. When you walk up on me with that, please know, at that moment, I'm ready to go. Because I don't cower. I don't tuck my head. I don't let you walk in front of me. I don't let you push me over. I don't let you say that S word too many times without me getting a chain reaction to you saying the refuse word, right? Because as soon as I hear the F word, I immediately think refuse, right?
Okay,
So it tickles right back.
All right. And ain't nothing wrong with, you're in Arizona, there's nothing wrong with standing your ground, particularly in that state, but you gotta move it on, man. You've been a very interesting caller. You took that in a lot of different directions that I never would expect it. You're always welcome back.
Let me say this and I'm done.
Sure.
I want these illegals. Because I don't know where y'all live in this world, but if y'all are anywhere near these border states, these illegals, once they get the numbers, black people don't stand a chance. Now, I don't know where y'all are off these border states, but trust me when I tell you, these people are cartel-minded and they are related. Let me tell you, they bully black people. Like black people go to work. I'm telling you, these black people are sitting at these jobs in Arizona like it's like they're sitting on a time bomb because of the harassment that these illegals, not the white people, the illegals are used as triangulation against us, and they are working overtime. So
all right. I don't want to. Okay.
For the black man's interest.
All right. Appreciate you coming on. That was different. What do I always say on the program, folks? I do not censor, block, ban, or anything like that for their commentary. But me and that guest probably disagreed on vehemently everything. But at the end of the day, it's always about free speech here. I make that solemn promise that it's not about agreeing or disagreeing with the host. Nobody gives a damn if you agree with the host or not. We're not going to limit your time simply because you have an opinion. You have a right to have an opinion. Nobody has to agree with you. That doesn't take your free speech rights away. I kind of wanted to move that caller on because I kind of felt the bandwidth might be happening to that caller. Not from yours truly, but the TikTok gods sometimes can ban people. And some of the things he was saying was obviously racially charged, particularly toward Hispanics. So that was the only reason why. But I don't have a problem letting the man speak. Nevertheless, that was very odd for him to be a black Trump supporter down in Arizona, admitting white privilege, admitting that we're disadvantaged, admitting or suggesting that white women love us and that we're physical specimens and we're better. Like, I don't know where to go with that. That was the most unusual call I've ever had. It was incredibly entertaining, and as I whatever Trump rally saying that shit might be the last rally you attend. Nevertheless, looking in the comments, I always do appreciate you folks. 40,000 likes. I haven't been asking for you guys to tap the screen. Certainly with 700 plus of us in here, we should have had 100,000 likes by now, but we've been having an interesting program. So I haven't been asking y'all to tap the screen, but normally I should have about 100,000 likes. All of y'all hands have been lazy. Nobody has been showing your boy no love without tapping the screen. Looking in the comments though, you finally had a sound person that made a lot of sense, says Antonio Blue there. I'm a person of color that supports. You do believe that, Hispanics are a danger to African Americans, more of a danger than white people. You do believe that white women like us and we are more attractive to white people. You believe what my last guest was saying and all of that shit? Okay. And you support Trump, I take it. To me, that sounded like finding out. When he said he was a black Trump supporter, I don't have any issue with African-American Trump supporters, African-American Republicans. I get them on the program all the time. We have real good conversations. But his follow-up did not match diversity. Wow. I said, I don't know. I will never forget that last call. I'm just going to tell you, I will never forget that call. Biden supporters need help in the hit. TJ. They don't seem to need help at the polls, though, do they? Because he is president right now. Look at it like that. Not saying that, but we are not victims. We are a proud people, says Antonio Blue. Well, you can be proud and a victim at the same damn time. Can you not? I mean, you can be both. I mean, James Brown used to sing "I'm Black" as it is on the left. However, the history of this country will tell you that really down south did not favor black people. There's a difference between being a Baptist and being a Southern Baptist. So even religion wasn't enough to create unity, even among religion. I don't know, but I hear what you're saying. Anybody but Trump. 24 says lion cornerstone. So what? Trump still has a legitimate chance. What about what we were originally talking about at the start of the program? Do you believe President Trump is being victimized by a federal witch hunt? All 3 indictments so far. January 6th, documents case, paying off a porn star with campaign funds. You think they're just making all this stuff up just to prevent him from running? What do you guys think? Somebody in the comments did say absolutely, but a lot of other folks said no. How's the border, DW? The border, for the most part, it is what it is. 70% reduction in immigrants coming in this country. You got Abbott has a device up. The Trump era border protection policies are still in place, according to the Biden administration. I mean, Biden hasn't really done anything make it easier to come into the United States of significance. So the border is the border is as it is. I don't believe it's secure, but I'm not going to pretend like Biden has done all kinds of shit to make it easier for people to get over here. He has not. He hasn't imposed any major changes in policy from the Trump administration, where people were coming just because they thought Biden would be easier to get past. But he didn't really change any major laws to make it that much easier. Somebody says, of course he did. What policies did Biden change? Other than relaxing the COVID pandemic restrictions now that we're not involved in a pandemic. What else did he change from the Trump era? What else did he change? I'd like to know. Biden has men in dresses reading to our children today. That's insane. How? And let's talk about making a mountain out of a molehill. Think about how many children we have in various educational institutions in America. It's got to be tens of millions. There's 350 million Americans in this country. I'm assuming at least 20% of them are in school, are school-age children. So you got to easily be talking about 40, 50 million children in schools across America. How many students are being read their lesson by a teacher that's a man wearing a dress? Is that really that prevailing of a problem for the Republicans to be acting the way they're acting? Is it 1 in every 5 American students is in a classroom with a transgender teacher? Is it that big? I would submit to you less than 1 in 1,000 are dealing with this. I don't see why the issue is becoming that, if we're making that big of a fuss over it. It's exceptionally rare. Very similar to a transgender female wanting to play on a woman's sports team. The overwhelming majority of schools in America do not have a single transgender child in them. This is not as big as folks are making it sound. It's just not. This is what folks are referring to when they say fear mongering, as if transgender are trying to take over the whole country. This is not that big of an issue like that. I just don't see it. And I agree with you, Sunflower. I do not agree with a transgender female playing on a female's team. I don't agree with it either. I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. I don't think I should be able to identify as a female and go play on a team and start dunking on all the broads out there. I do agree that it's wrong. I just don't think it's anywhere near the issue that Republicans are making it out to be. It's just not a lot of that out there. Nowhere near to the point where you should be passing whole laws and shit like that. As I pointed out earlier, if you truly gave a damn about children, you would be passing laws against the Catholic, Lutheran, and Mormon church because they have a lengthy history, generations long, of abusing children. Or the Mormons. Not one law, but we're going against the LGBT community because of what we think they might do. I submit to you that it has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with protecting children. It is a hatred of that lifestyle, and we're using children to defend and promote that hatred. Because if you cared about kids, the Catholic Church would be public enemy number 1, and it's not. It's not. So I just, there's no explanation to that. No explanation to how you would be anti-LGBT and pro-Catholic, pro-Mormon. There's no explanation for that. If protecting children are your primary concern, there is no explanation for that at all that would make sense. Looking in the comments, Dems have done nothing about the priests. Okay, I'm not arguing with that, but I'm simply saying the Republican Party that's constantly yelling about how they're out to protect children. I agree the Democratic Party ain't doing nothing about it either. But they're not out here talking about protect the kids, protect the kids, protect the kids all the damn time. That's the Republican Party doing that. Remember, when they were trying to legalize interracial marriage, you know what the excuse to prevent it from happening? Children, biracial children, would have an identity crisis, not knowing what race they were from. They were trying to prevent interracial marriage under the same restriction. We're here to protect the children. There's a ton of biracial children in America now. You think they're really having a problem with that? But that was the same reason they were giving for trying to prevent interracial. You also had people using it to prevent gays from marrying. Is that a child with two mommies or two daddies would be fucked up in the head. So it is a right-wing philosophy when they're trying to, go at folks from this angle to use children as a reason for why they don't want it to happen. And now they're using it with the LGBT community. It's all about protecting the kids. You don't hear Democrats talking like that. But I do agree with you. The Democrats haven't, stepped up and went after the Catholics or the religious institutions in this country either, because I'm from the Baptist church, and there's a hell of a lot of abuse in the history of Baptist churches as well. And that's where a lot of African Americans, affiliate with. So I'm not going to just simply go after those churches. Church in general, it's just like they say, power corrupts. Next to politicians are most likely religious leaders. They have a lot of power because people believe they're directly connected to the deity. If I think your ass is connected to God, because you could maybe make some things happen for me. So treat pastors really good. And pastors have no problem abusing the hell out of that authority, whether it's demanding money or fucking the shit out of the congregation. It happens, period. If you're a pastor, you can get pussy all day long. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate you folks tuning in. It's 58,000 likes, but you know what time it is. Your boy got to get up in the morning for work like all of you other hardworking individuals. Pull myself up by my bootstraps. Appreciate the 58,000 likes. I'm not going to hate, but it should be higher. We've had 500 to as many as 1,000 people in here the whole damn live stream. So a hell of a lot of lazy thumbs. Perhaps it is because I'm talking to an audience that is loaded with MAGA, and I'm suggesting that Trump may be in trouble. Not here to bash the former commander-in-chief, but I am saying that he is facing a hell of a battle with so many members of the feds coming after him. As I've stated before, I wouldn't care if it was my mama. If I thought she was 100% innocent, but the feds had 100 charges on her, I would be like, Mama, you're going to probably spend some time in jail. I'll come see you. I'll put some money on your books, but Mama, you probably going to go to jail for a little bit. You got 70, 80 charges they coming at you with? Feds don't do that and fail. People don't be beating Fed cases like that. You got the feds coming at you from 4 different angles and shit. Like, people don't be beating Fed cases like that. So the idea that Trump is going to defeat all of those cases, highly unlikely. Will he end up incarcerated? I don't think that a large portion of the country want that. I think there's a lot of liberals that do not want him incarcerated as well. I could see the most likelihood is him taking a plea deal that is really, really sweet. A really sweet plea deal. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Something that starts out with the phrase, shut the fuck up, and take this plea deal. I can see that happening. But him being found not guilty on like 70 damn charges, no, that ain't gonna happen. For you folks who truly, for my witch hunt folks, you believe he's gonna walk off with 70 not guilty, 70 acquittals, it ain't gonna happen. It just is not gonna happen. That man's gonna. Also, keep in mind, I had a screenshot earlier because what is starting to happen now is that in addition to President Trump being charged with all this shit, a hell of a lot of people are starting to pop up as co-defendants in his cases. They got Rudolph Giuliani now. This is one of them from today. This features his attorney, Rudolph Giuliani, you see on screen there, former DOJ official Jeffrey Clark, his other attorney, Sidney Powell of Dominion voting machine fame, and his campaign attorney, John Eastman. His other indictments also have co-conspirators. You also have legal analysts suggesting that the way his indictments are written, there are other hidden witnesses testifying against him. Recordings of him saying shit are starting to pop up out of Mar-a-Lago. There's a lot of people on Trump's team that are turning into snitches. I'm just saying it doesn't look good if you're expecting an acquittal of all of these cases. You got a lot of snitches around here. Trump likes to talk. Trump likes to chips for their own issues, and they're recording them, and they're handing over tape. You don't think that man saw an issue and decided to hit record on the phone? You think that recording came out of nowhere? So they're testifying today that he told Mike Pence, "You just too innocent, man. You don't reports and these testimonies are popping up out of nowhere for no reason at all. There's a lot of folks that Trump invited into his inner circle that you can expect to be testifying against the man in court. Some is going to be audio, some is going to be eyewitness testimony. I understand if you are MAGA, if you're a beloved Trump supporter, you're going to dismiss everybody who speaks negatively of Trump, no matter who they are or who they used to be. I get it. But will that work on a jury? Will that work in the court of law? Every judge automatically dismiss credible witnesses, people that Trump himself was dragging all over the country and rallies saying this is a great person, this is a true blue patriot. And now because they're in court testifying against him, they're suddenly an idiot over again. I think now say negative things about Trump. Chris Christie is another one. I understand a lot of MAGA do not like Chris Christie. He's another one. These are people that Trump used to introduce as great people, very good people, patriots. Now all of a sudden, because they're speaking negatively about him, their whole reputation is gone. That doesn't make sense. Is it possible that some of them might actually be telling the truth? Or do we believe Trump is the beacon of truth and everybody around him is a liar? Even the ones he used to bring around and say they were telling the truth. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Nevertheless, I do appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. You did get the likes up. So I'm happy. You guys did get the likes up. Damn Trump says Papa Doc 832. Papa Doc, wasn't that a term from Action Jackson when they had him had his balls in a jar? Some of you guys that are old enough to remember that movie. He's a self-serving con man, says Sonny. A lot of politicians are. I'm going to assume, even though Hunter Biden is not a politician, he clearly is a self-serving con boy as well. All Trump's cronies are getting charged or selling him out. It's only a matter of time. I do believe that a lot of the folks, how long realizes it's not killing Trump? I strongly believe that man eventually is going to crack and realize I could be selling fucking books and making a little bit of money instead of rolling with him and constantly going down, 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 down. How long is it going to be before some of these people decide that they can make more money telling the truth than defending Trump? Sidney Powell's another one. So it's the amount of folks speaking out against Trump, it's not over yet. It is not over with yet. 2 weeks ago, you weren't a Republican. You were wearing a MAGA hat. Who? I'm from New York City, Queens. Trump and his father have been criminals all their lives. Well, that says a lot about New York because they were very much welcome citizens in New York. New York really liked Trump. So if Trump and his dad were criminals, then that says a lot about the city of New York. Ruining their careers, that is true. Because Rudolph Giuliani was America's mayor after 9/11, could have rode off into the sunset, a very well-respected guy in New York. Him dealing with Trump has destroyed his legacy. Rudolph Giuliani is barely even welcome on the streets of New York after dealing with Trump. Has literally destroyed his legacy. Completely lost his ability to practice law, which, he's old, he's not practicing law anyway, but you don't want to go out being disbarred. I mean, Rudolph Giuliani, probably out of most Trump associates, is probably one of the biggest losers out of all of them. He's lost a lot dealing with Trump. I don't even know how much Dominion is hitting him up for, but yeah, Rudolph Giuliani did not do very well hanging out with Trump at all. He's down there with the Carlos said, don't believe you say something good or anybody else watching the program. I have never deleted somebody for having their opinion. Even if their opinion is that yours truly is a total idiot. I don't delete, I don't block, I don't ban, I don't censor folks for having an adverse opinion. Only time I might delete you if you're literally throwing racial epithets. That happens occasionally. Folks will get in here and just say something racist, and it's so, using the N-word or something like that. And that's just to protect the integrity of the program. If it was my own podcast, I'd let you say that shit, but I would make sure you had to actually have your identity on the channel. I don't want you saying shit while hiding behind a picture of a damn cat. If you're gonna say some shit, do like yours truly. You see my picture. Back up the shit you gotta say. Don't put a cat up there. But other than that, yeah, I'm not gonna block you or ban you for what you have to say. You have a right to say what the hell you want to say. Just, back up your words. Be able to put your face on camera if you're gonna say some shit like that. Say it with your chest, as Kevin Hart would say. Trump for president of trash pickup on the side of the road in 2024. Wow. Let me ask that in regards to suggesting that the Trump legacy has been reduced to a garbage man. USS Trump. Trump, well, I won't say Trump University because we know how that works, but, you know, Trump Higher Learning Institute, Trump Elementary School. Do you think we will have things in this country named after President Trump? Trump Interstate, like we do with most presidents. Most presidents eventually get ships, schools, parks, landmarks, things named after them. Do you think Trump will get that? In my humble opinion, I do believe that anything with the Trump label on it will be controversial. Unless he gets reelected and really corrects his legacy as it stands will be controversial. I do believe even when he passes away and he's lying in state, there's going to be people outside saying some real happy shit. Even that's going to be disrespectful. Like I said, unless he gets reelected and really changes his legacy. But right now, his legacy is one of serious controversy. I could easily see most of the northern states refusing to have any schools named after President Trump. I would have a hard time imagining any USS Trump or Navy vessel being named after President Trump. Now, you might even have sailors refusing to say they refuse to serve on the damn boat. I just really see it that way. Hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, whatever the case may be. But he will be mired in controversy after passing away. And when he does pass away, it will be conspiratorial. I don't care if he passes away of a heart attack or diabetes or something. Somebody got to him. It was deep state. You know, it was the Rothsteins or the Rockefellers did it with a needle. I mean, it's going to be some type of controversy in terms of, I don't care if he lives as long as Betty White did. When he passes away, they're going to say somebody took his life. That's just the way it's going to be. He's going to be shrouded in controversy for the rest of our lifetime. And I don't care how old you are. It's going to be for the rest of your lifetime, too. Even if you're 20 years old, for the rest of your lifetime, his name is going to be shrouded in controversy. Anyhow, I do have to get the hell out of here. I've talked enough. I appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. Catch you on the next live stream. It's your boy, Tim, the handsome liberal. Have a good night. For you guys on YouTube, there was some folks riding with your boy. I'm off of TikTok now. I do appreciate the few of you guys who donated particularly. Maybe I'll start running it. For you guys who are watching, you guys enjoy a little bit of political conversation. I know I do a lot of Uber videos on YouTube, but a few of you guys, let me know in the comments if this is something you might be interested in. I can bring the program to YouTube as well. I haven't done a live stream on YouTube before, but you guys, some of you tuned in. There was about 20 or 30 of you guys in here on YouTube. Nobody really knows me from doing live political shows on YouTube. So the numbers here are a fraction of what they were on TikTok. I see Arlita Curry said, yeah, okay. And I see somebody else said, I agree with you. That was Tamara McPhillips. That was earlier. But yeah, I mean, I could do a simulcast. I would have to, make my setup a little bit more friendly, because this is on a tablet, so the resolution and things like that are nowhere near as good as they are on the smartphone. That's the whole setup is designed for the smartphone, because I regularly use the monitor behind me and things like that to integrate into the program when I got sounds and clips and things like that. But if you guys tend to enjoy a little political conversation in addition to the Uber videos, I can certainly bring it here as well. It's not that difficult to do a simulcast. I just did not know you guys were interested, but I've ran a program for a couple hours and there have been viewers on here the whole time. And I didn't announce this early or anything. I just spontaneously got on YouTube and people have been watching, and a few of you guys even donated. So appreciate it. It's definitely been an honor serving you folks on YouTube as well. I will take that into consideration, and perhaps we'll start doing some simulcasts on YouTube. For anybody who's interested in seeing how it is done on TikTok, the same name, The Handsome Liberal on TikTok. I'm generally on every weekday, 1 o'clock. Usually run about an hour to 2 hour show. We're taking comments, viewers, live callers. You can call in and all of that shit. And that's kind of the way we run it, Monday through Friday. But I do put the reruns, the repeats on YouTube. They're usually a couple days behind because YouTube censors the shit out of anything that has Trump-related content in it. It takes a couple days to get it out, but yeah, if you guys enjoy a little political talk, like some of you folks may be suggesting, I'll try it out and see what it does to the numbers. See if you guys are in the comments commenting on the program. If it seems to be something that my Uber audience tends to enjoy, I'll continue with it. I don't have any problem with you folks. I enjoy, like I say all the time, the program is MAGA friendly. For any of you Trump supporters out there, the program is always MAGA friendly. I lean left, but the program is MAGA friendly, so it does lead to really good back and forth. But I don't censor, block, or ban anybody for their commentary. So you're going to hear a lot of shit you might disagree with, and some things that might be up your alley, because all opinions are welcome on the program. Anyhow, appreciate you folks tuning in. I'm going to take my ass to bed. For my Uber followers, no surge, no streak bonuses. They're driving right now. Hopefully you getting paid. Hold your defensive tool with every trip. Okay? Mace, something to slice or poke with, up to it including a firearm if you're safe with that, if you're comfortable with that. Don't get got. Don't get caught slipping. Catch you guys in the next broadcast. Have a good night.